Right there, you see it, a beautiful city. That's Jurassic Park, ladies and gentlemen. The crowd is already hyped. They're already packed. Everybody's ready to go. There's no question about it. Look at who they're showing a picture right there of. By the way, I loved it. That's a beautiful picture. I look kind of fly, except for one thing. Could you spell my name right, please? It's with a PH, not a V. We see everybody warming up. Kawhi Leonard is walking out the locker room right now. Obviously, you see how good he's looking right now. Steph walks in, got his headphones on, ain't interested in talking. He's in kill mode right now. We understand the reigning, defending two-time NBA champions are arriving to the arena, the Scotiabank Arena in downtown Toronto. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the lovely city of Toronto. We are north of the border for this hour at SportsCenter, getting you ready for Game 1 of the NBA Finals. The Warriors and Raptors from Scotiabank Arena. I'm Stephen A. Smith coming at you live from the arena. You know I'm hyped about this. It is something special to behold. Obviously got some great guests coming up. We got Mike Wilbon coming up. My man Wilbon Windhorst is coming up. Jalen Rose might pay us a visit. Amari Hardwick, Power. You know who he is. Ghost from Power on the Stars Network. He'll be in the house as well. The list goes on and on, but there's a lot to get to. Let's hear what the players have to say about tonight.
You don't win a road game in 22 straight playoff series because you can shoot the basketball, because your offense is pretty. That's a different level of tenacity that you have to bring to the game, and I think that's something that this team possesses.
Coming into the game, I feel like we all believe in ourselves. We have confidence. Just that being said, we have a heart. We just want to win.
And just knowing that, we're here and we have a job to do, and that's to win. We're going to do everything. We're going to give everything that we got until we get that result.
It's all about winning. We know what we face. We know who they are, but we're here to win, and that's the thing about it is we're not just going to say, oh, we're happy to be here.
We've proven that we can win anywhere and under any situation, circumstance. So Game 1 is going to be fun for us to try to come in with our experience and take control of the series right away.
Time for Stephen A's State of Mind. Before I bring my man Wilbon Windhorst into the mix, it's time for my state of mind going into Game 1. And it's very, very simple. Obviously, you look at Kawhi Leonard, we recognize he's established himself as a superstar in this game. Steph Curry is not anything to sneeze at, in case you forgot. The best shooter on the planet, the best shooting backcourt that we've ever seen in Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. They're in the mix, but I think more attention needs to be paid to the reserves, those supplementary parts that both teams have. In the case of the Golden State Warriors, yes, you've got Boogie Cousins coming back. He averaged 16 and 8 in 30 games that he played this season before going down in Game 2 of the Western Conference first round against the Clippers. He's supposed to be back tonight. We'll see what he does. But pay attention to Kevon Looney, to obviously a Quinn Cook, to an Alfonso McKinney, to a Sean Livingston, to an Andre Iguodala, and what roles they play. Because Toronto, being a stout defensive team that they are, you know that they're going to be on lock against Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. You take away those two shooters for the Golden State Warriors. It's not Kevin Durant that you have to lean on now, the two-time reigning NBA Finals MVP. It's guys like Iguodala, who's an NBA Finals MVP. It's Livingston, guys like that, who obviously have, been caught up just a little bit by Father Time, if not more than that. So those are the kind of things that you got to pay attention to. In the case of the Toronto Raptors, a guy like Fred VanVleet coming off the bench, shooting 82% from three-point range over the last 3 games, hitting 14 of 17 three-point shots. Can he do that in this NBA Finals Series? Can Kyle Lowry average nearly 20 points per game in this Finals Series? If you're Nick Nurse, do you put them both on the court together when you've got to defend against Steph Curry? These are the kind of things that you've got to worry about. If you are the Toronto Raptors, obviously you got home court advantage, so that helps. You got a closer in Kawhi Leonard, so that helps. But you gotta look for what these guys are going to be able to do, whether it's coming off your bench or starters that are secondary options. That's my take on it. That's my state of mind going into Game 1. It's time to talk to my next guest, our NBA analyst extraordinaire, the one and only Wilbon Windhorst, is in the house. Brian, you heard what my state of mind is. What's your state of mind as it pertains to the Warriors and the Raptors and what they need to do in Game 1?
Talking to the coaches from both sides, talking to the front offices, talking to the players the last couple of days. What we're watching for early in this game is how the Warriors do against that Raptors defense. The Raptors defense got them here. They are one of the best defensive teams, if not the best defensive team the Warriors have faced in this entire 5-year run in the finals. They have a couple of former Defensive Player of the Years in their starting lineup, Marc Gasol, Kawhi Leonard. They are stocked with long, smart, skilled, defensive, experienced players. They gave the 76ers and Bucks a hard time. Can they stop one of the greatest offenses of this era? If they can slow them down, especially without Kevin Durant, Stephen A., we are going to have a series.
Well, the offense is expected to be potent no matter what, but adding Boogie Cousins to the mix, assuming he can give you anything, obviously is a plus for the Golden State Warriors, Brian Windhorst. Before I get to you, Steve Kerr, the head coach for the Warriors, spoke about Boogie Cousins' return earlier today.
Do you have any sense like what his workload might be for tonight?
Yeah, I do, but I'm not going to tell you. I feel bad for him. I'm happy that he's back, but I feel badly for him because, you know, you want to be in the finals. You want to be in the best shape and on top of your game that you can possibly be. And, you know, it's so that, you know, life doesn't work that way. It's not always perfect.
Wendy, you heard what Steve Kerr just had to say. You see the numbers right there. 29 minutes, a plus 22 differential when Cousins has been in the lineup, shooting 55% from the field, 130.5 offensive efficiency to 87.3 defensive efficiency. Boogie Cousins, what do you believe he adds to this Golden State Warriors offense?
To read between the lines of what Steve Kerr just said there and what is said privately the last couple of days, Stephen A., I don't think he wants to play him that much. I think he respects the fact that he's worked so hard to come back from the injury. He feels bad that he can't be at 100%. He's worried about messing up what his team has going, which I want to remind you is a 6-game win streak where they have demolished the competition, dating back to the way that they handled the Rockets without Kevin Durant all the way through the Western Conference Finals. They didn't have Boogie. Steve has used the word to me, this is a delicate situation, which I am translating to mean I don't want to mess our flow. I would not expect to see Boogie unless they fall behind big time tonight.
You know how that sounds, Woody. It sounds like it's almost a charity case for crying out loud. We're playing Boogie Cousins because we know what he can do when healthy, but the fact that he isn't healthy and this is his first time ever in the postseason, let alone an NBA Finals, we feel we owe it to him to give him an opportunity to go out there and play. That's entirely different than saying, man, we need him in order to win this series, isn't it?
They have to respect the fact that he took a much smaller contract than he could have got elsewhere to even be with this team. They have to respect the fact that he worked so hard. They thought he wasn't going to play in the postseason. He just worked really, really hard to overcome that injury, which was a really bad injury that we thought was season-ending for sure. But they're playing so well without him. And Stephen A., as you know better than anybody, this is what the Warriors have been talking about internally over the last week as they've watched Boogie get closer to playing. This is the NBA Finals. This is not the time to handle, being nice. If they get behind in this series, or if there's a situation where the Raptors are switching on them defensively and they're having trouble with that switch, he can be a countermeasure. But I don't think heading into this series that he is part of the primary game plan of the Golden State Warriors.
Wendy, when they talk about the Toronto Raptors, obviously you're talking and alluding to what the Golden State Warriors looked like in the last 2 games against the Houston Rockets, or the last game and a half, rather, and of course in the series against the Portland Trailblazers. When folks talk about the Toronto Raptors, they talk about their athleticism, they talk about their length, they talk about their ability to defend collectively. Aren't the Golden State Warriors concerned about going up against the Raptors without a guy like Boogie Cousins to lean on to some degree?
It's a fair question. My sense being around the Warriors is that they are supremely confident coming into this series that they can continue their strong play from that last series and a half. I will say this. Steph Curry was in a slump. Remember, before Durant got injured, he was in a slump for about 5 or 6 games. If he goes back into that slump, which is possible, look, he's not going to make shots at this kind of percentage forever. They're going to need some offense from somewhere, especially with Durant out. If that is the case, then I think you go to Boogie. But again, I think he's a plan B or plan C, not part of plan A coming in.
I don't believe in putting reporters, especially reporter extraordinaires, on the spot in terms of inside information. I know you got sources to protect, but damn it, that doesn't apply to predictions. Wendy, who do you have in game 1? Give it to me.
I want to see if the Raptors defense can hang with it. If they can hang with it and Steph doesn't shoot 57% from three-point range, shoots only 35%, I think the Raptors can take this game and put everybody on notice that this is going to be a series. If they don't play well, if Kawhi doesn't bring it, because Stephen A., this is Kawhi's chance. This is his chance to let everybody know where he is in the pantheon of NBA history. To pull off a victory in this series would put him with the greats. It would put him up with LeBron in 2016. He does that starting tonight. He delivers that type of game. He can get the Raptors out front, especially if Steph cools off a little bit from his previous hot streak.
Brian Windhorst reporting and commentating live from Game 1 of the NBA Finals, Scotiabank Arena. Thanks a lot, buddy. I appreciate it, man. Talk to you soon. Coming up next, lots more to come on SportsCenter from Game 1 of the NBA Finals.
WD.
52nd Annual Scripps National Spelling Bee Finals continue tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN until we crown a champion. It's the 26th straight year that the finals are on ESPN. Every word of the spelling bee is also streaming live on the ESPN app. We're here courtside at Scotiabank Arena as the players warm up. See Steph Curry right there getting ready for game 1 of the NBA Finals. Let's hear from the head coaches who spoke earlier, mainly Nick Nurse, coach of the Toronto Raptors, speaking about the problems Boogie Cousins can pose.
They drop him out there at the top of the key, trailing in the break, and they hit him, and guys start cutting, and he can find them. So presents us a few problems. We've tried to prepare our guys for those and hopefully come up with some coverages that minimize his effectiveness.
You know, it's the Gene Hackman scene from Hoosiers, you know. Although the rims were a little high yesterday. They were like 10-1. I'm not kidding. Because all the cameras that they're going to have weren't on yet, so the rims were actually 10 feet 1 inch. So there's a nugget for you. So Gene Hackman was right in Hoosiers, but he would have been wrong out here.
There he is, Boogie Cousins, the X factor in some people's eyes. He is ready to play for game 1 of these NBA Finals. What kind of impact he will have? Who better to talk to than my brother, my big brother, PTI fame, my NBA analyst extraordinaire as well, the one and only Mike Wilbon.
Let me ask you this.
What's up?
What if it happened if you and Max went at it at the spelling bee?
Oh, he'd win. He'd win. That's about the only thing he'd win at, but he'd win. I'll give him credit for that. That Columbia education would come in handy. Anything else, he's got no shot.
I hear you.
But with that, I'd give it to him. No question about it. I'm only playing Max. Here's the deal, Mike Wilbon. We see Boogie Cousins out there working out, getting ready to go. What kind of impact do you think he's capable of having in this series?
Well, I wonder how many minutes, Stephen A. Like, how many minutes does Steve Kerr think he can put Boogie Cousins in for? At what situation? We're standing here, we could almost ask Marc Gasol, who's standing behind, because that's the matchup where you would expect to go with Boogie Cousins, and you don't know if it would be a second unit situation. When is Gasol going to be out there? But you're talking about personnel matchups. I mean, look, giving him minutes, that was a big issue we thought was going to be a case for Golden State in the Houston series. It didn't become that, but Steve did go to that bench. He used that bench extensively, more than he had any time in the postseason, the last couple of postseasons. So now, is Boogie part of that? And how long do you go with him if it seems like he doesn't have his wind, or he's just not? It's been a while.
Are you one of those folks that find yourself just a tad bit concerned at the rhythm of the Golden State Warriors being disrupted because of his arrival?
Yes. I mean, we see how finely tuned a team like this is, even in midseason. And now you're talking about the NBA Finals when they have played so brilliantly for 6 games. I mean, the fourth quarter in Oakland, when it looked like the Rockets were going to have this great advantage because KD had just gone out. And then the series, game 6 in Houston, and then all the games against Portland. I mean, they erased double-digit leads as if they were on a playground laughing at the opponent.
But what about the notion that there were double-digit deficits that they had to overcome, that they put themselves in without Portland's best player, Damian Lillard, playing on an A level because of obviously his rib injury hampering him to some degree?
Well, the only thing is, you know how the Warriors are. They get lax, right? I mean, they hear the sweet Georgia Brown music and they turn it over, and they have, I mean, some of those games, it's amazing. They'll have 20 turnovers. But Stephen, no lead is safe. No deficit is too large. And the Raptors haven't faced that kind of firepower.
That's where I was going next, because you and I covered the Eastern Conference Finals, Milwaukee against Toronto. We both thought Milwaukee had the series wrapped up pretty much, and then Toronto came roaring back, winning 4 straight. Talk to me about what we saw from the Toronto Raptors that should give somebody reason to feel confident in them against the Golden State Warriors.
Well, when you got guys like Fred VanVleet, who are even hotter than Steph Curry. I know it's a smaller sample size. It's not seasons
3 games,
at a time.
82%.
But like 11 of his last 14 or whatever insane numbers there are. Norman Powell. Here's one of the things I think is important for Toronto, Stephen. They're playing with house money now.
Yeah.
They are. I mean, who's going to fault them? How bad can they feel if they wind up losing to the Golden State Warriors?
Right.
This is human nature. They have an entire country behind them.
Is it that pressure? I mean, if you got a whole country, 15,000 people packed outside of Jurassic Park. I'm sorry, 40. I thought it was like 40,000.
The number's going up to 40.
Right.
But, Stephen, I think that in this case, when you're such a decided underdog, I don't even believe in underdogs in professional sports usually. I don't. You're dealing with all the same resources, access to players. You have professionals who have come and gone from different organizations. I don't believe in underdogs, huge underdogs, upsets, if you will. This would be an upset if the Toronto Raptors were to win. But I think there's some of the ingredients starting with Kawhi Leonard and what he can do both ends of the floor to just disrupt you, and he never seems to make the wrong play. He's always seeming to hit the right shot. He's always seeming to engage a teammate. Timely plays. Well, I mean, like, he'll only have a couple three-pointers, but they're critical.
Okay.
Only a couple offensive rebounds, but they're the critical time. So starting with him, he's the best player in the postseason. He's the best. Sorry, Kevin has missed games now.
Right.
Kawhi Leonard's the best player in the postseason in Toronto. Right.
So with all of that being said, Max Kellerman picked the Raptors. Jalen Rose picked the Raptors.
I know.
Where do you stand, Mike Wilbon?
I'm not picking the Raptors.
Okay.
I do see a way. I see a path that they can win this series. First of all, they got to win tonight.
Okay.
I am picking and have picked Golden State in 6 games. I'm not.
So have I.
Change that.
So have I.
And that's just because when you look at Curry, Durant, Draymond Green, just that big three. That's its own big three. And then the support they get from players who have been there, done that. Andre Iguodala, I'm sorry, is walking around with an MVP champion, MVP of a finals trophy. I got to see, you know how you say you got to see the champ knocked out? I got to see the champ knocked out before I believe.
Who do you think will end up winning the MVP of these NBA Finals?
Steph Curry. He's having a phenomenal playoff season. I'm not so sure, by the way, the MVP shouldn't be like it is, I think, in the NHL, where it's the playoff MVP. And if that was the case, you'd have Kawhi Leonard and Steph Curry, right? And probably the team that wins that guy would be the playoff MVP. For a series is a little different, but
all right.
Who you sticking with Golden State?
Listen, we got to get ready to go. I was getting ready to say. First of all, it's all right to say that you've been hanging with your boy. You're listening to your young protege, because I got the Warriors in 6, and I got Steph Curry. Winning the NBA Finals MVP. But I got to get ready to go because you know we got to. I got to handle this. I got to handle all of this traffic. I don't know how to do this the way you and Tony Kornheiser know how to do. I'm learning as we go along. Mike Wilbon, thank you so much. So you've got the Warriors in 6. I've got the Warriors in 6. You got Steph Curry as the MVP. So do I. I say look out for Klay Thompson.
Watching Golden State play, because they seem very unassuming. Klay and Steph seem very calm and nice guys, and those guys are stone cold killers, man.
Since Kevin Durant went down to injury, Steph Curry has played at an MVP level. He's one of 3 players in NBA history to enter the NBA Finals with a streak of 5 or more games with 30 points. The others are Jerry West and the one and only Wilt Chamberlain. Kawhi Leonard is behind me right now, warming up, ready to go, averaging 31 points during the playoffs. Definitely averaged nearly 30 in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Milwaukee Bucks. We know what he did to the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid is still recovering. We wish him nothing but the best, but we'll talk about that at another time. With us right now, live from the court inside Scotiabank Arena right here, downtown Toronto. Our senior NBA writer for The Undefeated, Mark Spears, joins us. Mark, talk to us about Boogie Cousins. First of all, what have you learned about him in the hours leading up to Game 1?
Well, I ain't going to agree with Wendy. This ain't no charity case. They need him. I learned a couple hours ago that he's been playing 3-on-3. He's been playing 4-on-4 the past couple days since scrimmaging on Monday, trying to get his wind better. He admitted to me on Monday that his wind isn't great, but he's been working hard, trying to get in better condition for today. His people were a little surprised that he did get cleared for today. I was actually thinking more Game 2. But to think that it's a charity for the Warriors to have this guy, he's a 4-time, 5-time All-Star. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, if you look at the stats, they play better with him. There's a guy named Gasol and Serge Ibaka out there. they're pretty good and they're pretty big. What can Cousins give him? I don't know, but I like him better than Bogut. I like him better than Jones. They better hope he gets in good condition because they need his size and his ability and his pass and everything.
Mark, in defense of Wendy, though, I think it was a situation where you're looking at his health. Nobody's questioning the ability of Boogie Cousins.
Yeah.
What you're questioning is how healthy is he? That's why you heard Steve Kerr alluding to feeling sorry for the guy and what have you.
Yeah, I think it's more of a conditioning thing than anything. I saw him run up and down the court. I didn't see his leg bothering him. I saw his conditioning bothering him, his wind bothering him, being out of breath when I sat down with him. It's not his body, so that to me, I mean, it's a conditioning thing more than anything.
Mark, what did the Golden State Warriors tell you in terms of how they're feeling about how they match up against the Toronto Raptors in this series? They clearly seem very, very confident. Why do you think that is specifically?
Yeah. I mean, they've been there before. They've done that. This is the 5th straight time. It's going to be interesting for Toronto because it's emotional. They got a zillion people outside. It's been there since 6 o'clock in the morning. We're going to hear "Oh Canada" at the finals for the first time. So how is the people outside of Kawhi and Serge, guys, the couple bit of guys that have been in this, how are they going to react tonight? I think the Warriors actually are primed to win because of how emotional it is, because they got so much more experience. So I think that's the experience and also the rest that was something they needed desperately will help them out a lot in this game one.
Did you see anything from the Eastern Conference Finals from the Toronto Raptors that gives you cause for concern for the Golden State Warriors?
Oh, yeah, they're for real. They're good. They're for real. And Kawhi's giving the Warriors problems. Remember a couple years ago, they're not scared of him. They got size. They got length. Masai's done a great job. Yeah, they definitely should be concerned. This is no easy win. And you know, Kawhi's like a robot to me, man.
Okay.
He just plays. His lights aren't big on the moment, so they better take this team seriously for sure.
All right, real quickly, give me your prediction for Game 1 in this series.
Got the Warriors winning tonight and got them in 7. KD hitting the game winner.
You have KD coming back for the Golden State Warriors and hitting the game winner in Game 7 in Toronto, Canada to win the championship. Did I hear that correctly?
We work for Disney. When we work for Disney, we got to go big, right? Why not?
I got you. I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the game, Mark Spears. Appreciate you. Mark Spears is undefeated right here with Stephen A. SportsCenter Special. Let's get to my man right here. Queens is in the building.
No question.
Queens is in the building. The one and only Mark Jackson, who'll be calling this game with Mike Breen and Jeff Van Gundy. Obviously, game 1 of the NBA Finals, the entire NBA Finals, by the way. Talk to me about this matchup. What if you're the Golden State Warriors? What should concern you most, other than Kawhi?
Well, first it's going to be Kawhi, even when it's other than Kawhi. The other thing is this is an outstanding defensive team that does not get enough credit. The discipline, the game plan, the ideas, the role players coming in, not afraid of the moment. This is a team playing with great confidence. You go down 2-0 and all of a sudden win 4 straight. That tells me something about your character, your identity, and your competitive spirit. This team is underrated and a dangerous.
Did the Toronto Raptors go up against any kind of offense? I'm watching Kawhi Leonard and Boogie Cousins both on the court warming up right now. When you look at the Golden State Warriors, okay, did you see anything from the Eastern Conference, Orlando, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, that's comparable to what the Golden State Warriors are going to throw at the Toronto Raptors offensively?
That's an emphatic yes. The reason why is you look at those teams, they have home run hitters. Now, when you look at the Warriors, you can make a determination. I'm going to take Steph Curry out of it or attempt to or make life tough. I'm not going to give Klay Thompson open shots, and I'm going to live with no Kevin Durant, no DeMarcus Cousins at the time with the results of everybody else. Nobody else is a high, potent, efficient offensive player on that team, with all due respect. Great players, but the 2 guys that you have to highlight is Curry and Thompson. So if you're disciplined and determined and dedicated, you can accomplish that goal, even though it's a tall task.
Mark Jackson, you coach these boys. You set the foundation for this franchise as far as I'm concerned. You've been giving commentary on these games, on this team for so many years. This is their 5th consecutive years in the NBA Finals. When you look at Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and these guys, can you speak to the level of maturation you personally witnessed from them over the years, from the first title that they won to being here right now?
Well, I can go back before that. In fairness, I can go back to, in 3 years as a head coach, us only beating the Memphis Grizzlies 1 time because of their level of competitiveness, the way they got under your skin defensively. They disrupted what this young nucleus was trying to do at the time. But the maturity of this team, the competitive spirit, the dedication to work hard and get better at their craft, and the underrated toughness of each one of those guys is absolutely all time.
What does the absence of Kevin Durant do to the Golden State Warriors? We've seen a team that has looked nearly flawless without him, but as far as I'm concerned, anybody who knows basketball knows better than assuming this team is better off without him. In a series like this, talk to me about what this team is going to be able to do without the services of Kevin Durant.
Well, first of all, which camera are we?
We are right there.
The Golden State Warriors are not a better team without Kevin Durant. Can I repeat that again?
Yes, go ahead.
They're not a better team without Kevin Durant. That's with all due respect.
That's right.
The difference is, in times of trouble, you need a hoop. I don't have to call a timeout and draw up anything. With greatness, you just give him the ball and put him in position. He will make a play for himself or others. They're a dangerous, different team with him. Without him, they're still a dangerous team because you look at the numbers of Curry, Thompson, Green, Iguodala's defensive stellar play. They're much better, much more focused, and they realize that they have to elevate their play, and they've made a difference.
Real quickly, what's the number one thing that has to happen for each team in order to win this series?
In order to win the series for the Golden State Warriors, I think Draymond Green has got to play like he's played the last four games. A difference maker, a guy that pushed the basketball, made plays on the offensive and defensive end. And for me, when you look at the Toronto Raptors, the number one thing is the supporting cast. They have to play well.
Mark Jackson, I'm not going to do to you what I did to the reporters. I asked them their prediction. You're calling the game. I'm going to let you off the hook.
Nobody else from the neighborhood. They're not from the neighborhood.
That's what I'm saying. I'll do it for you. I'm picking for me and Mark Jackson. I'll let you know that later. Mark Jackson, appreciate you, big boy. Enjoy the game, no question. Coming up next, got a lot of stuff going on. Before I tell you what's going up next, look at that crowd outside. That's already, ladies and gentlemen, that is already happening. Look at that crowd outside in Jurassic Park. Coming up next on this special edition of SportsCenter, live with yours truly. You know him as Ghost, the 3,000 people, but they stretched it out. It's about 15,000 people out there. Oh, by the way, that's our brother Jamal Murray right there. One of the special shooters in the game of basketball. Tremendous season for the Denver Nuggets this year, and he's with my man 3D, Dennis Scott. 3D, remember him, of course, Chris Bosh, who used to star for the Toronto Raptors before he jumped ship to South Beach. No hating there. He's with our very own Sage Steele, who just did a fabulous job doing the 6 o'clock SportsCenter with Kevin Nagandi. Let's not forget her. And look at this man here, DeAndre Ayton, one of the Rookie of the Year candidates, came after, obviously, Luka Doncic and Trae Young, but he can still ball. Let's give him some love there, okay? 16 points, 10 rebounds. Got to give credit where credit is due, no question about it. DeAndre Ayton. That picture's on him a little bit too long. He plays for the Phoenix Suns, y'all. Let's move on. All right, NBA Finals start tonight. Man. Next to me as we speak, the man, the myth, the legend, as far as I'm concerned.
Man.
Star of power, the one and only Ghost, Amari Hardwick. What's going on?
What's up,
How are you?
Listen, what's up, Toronto?
First of all, before we get into the basketball, when is Power coming back on the air?
August 25th.
Okay.
But we give you 15 episodes this year.
All right. Now, usually it was what?
Episodes. Usually it was 10.
It was 10, but now you want the additional extra 5.
Yep.
Okay.
Courtney Kemp and, of course, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson and Stars, all of the team got together and said 10 wasn't enough, 15 is more like it.
Okay.
But you asked for more episodes anyway.
I did ask for more episodes.
Yeah.
I actually went to the lead writers and asked them for more episodes.
And they gave it to you.
And they gave it to me.
Shout out to Courtney.
There's no question. Is this the last season?
Yes, sir.
And why is that going to be the case? Why is this the last season?
I guess, some new things have to develop. Spinoffs are going to happen.
Okay.
Curtis did speak about spinoffs happening. So, did we do okay? If you compared us, if you made it analogous to making it to the finals.
Okay.
Hey, did we as a show,
No, I'd say you won a championship. I'd say you got a ring. I'd say you got a chip. That's what I would say.
Thank you, bro.
That's what I would say.
Thank you,
I'm just wondering right there. I'm looking at Steph Curry. He's on the court right now, getting ready to warm up.
Yeah, man.
For those that don't know, people don't realize this. You know your basketball. You obviously know your football, playing football at Georgia and stuff like that. But you know your basketball, and you go back a ways with Draymond Green. Talk to us about that relationship for a second.
Well, ironically, it started in this new life of mine. Obviously, as you said, a former athlete. But I'm doing Sparkle. Rest in peace, Whitney Houston.
Yes.
So I'm doing Sparkle with Derek Luke and Tika Sumter and Carmen Ejogo, Michael Epps, Whitney Houston. And I meet none other than Joe Dumars, Joe D. I call him Joe 4. And Draymond is in the house one night, and he's a friend of Jordan Dumars, the son of Joe. And he basically became my little brother on the spot. He basically told me what he wanted, what he expected out of his life, and not just as a basketball player, but as a man. And for me, I was like, whoa, this kid is really got some fire. We just kind of clicked at that moment.
How is Draymond Green, because you know him personally, how different is he off the court than what we see on the court? We see a great player, but somebody that's very temperamental. This postseason, he's kept his cool, but that is an aberration for him. How is he compared to, on the court compared to how he is off the court?
I think that off the court, he is allowed, if I can use that as a word, he's allowed to be the big man that he is. No one questions it. Nobody questions his fight nor his ability. So I think off the court, he doesn't have to put that on as much. I think on the court, for you and I, he gives us remnants of the old school player. And I think being the 36th draft pick, if I'm not mistaken,
second round,
to become what he became, I think there's a chip on his shoulder that he has to play on the court with. So off the court, he doesn't have to carry that chip as much, but he's still firing me still, bro. He's still a hell of a lion of a player. And to me, the emotional leader of Golden State for this entire run of Golden State.
Amari Harwood, what did Draymond Green tell you about how he expects this series to unfold, these Toronto Raptors?
What he told me when we were communicating about the fact that KD's not there and the fact that Draymond has to pick up the missing offense, of course, he has to pick that up. He's still guarding 5 people on the court. He's still rebounding. He's still being a disruptor on defense. But in terms of like picking it up as an offensive threat, what he told me was we got to stay more focused than ever before, but we got to go back to what we were doing before KD got here. So obviously they had a chemistry going. Shout-outs to Livingston. Shout-outs to Iguodala. Shout-outs to Clay, Curry, and Draymond. And no slight to KD, but they got to just go back to Blueprint 1, because before KD got here, they were in a blueprint that was pretty much rocking. And so he just basically spoke about that. Like, let's get back to where we were before we invited KD to join the party.
You look at Draymond, you look at the Golden State Warriors, they clearly appear to be on this mission to prove that they can win without Kevin Durant. I think the ringleader in that kind of thinking is somebody like Draymond.
Yeah, for sure. I think
Talk to me about why.
Because at the end of the day, and he did a great job of, let's use the word great, right? He did a great job speaking at a press conference where it turned into a speech about being great, and that is way more than just a choice, or not way more than a choice. It's way more of a choice than to just wake up and be great. He said it's a choice. You getting up at 5 a.m., 3 a.m., hell, when nobody else is getting up at the same time you are, to be the greatest at doing what he's learned how to do on the court. He spoke about it, and he spoke about being better than great and going to that next level. And even though every player perhaps doesn't strive for that on his team, I know that Draymond strives for that every night. It's like you in this world of journalism / the historian that you are. You strive to be the greatest every time you step foot on a mic and in front of a camera. And so I think naturally Draymond, again, as the emotional leader of the team, he would be the one that everybody will follow suit at being great every single night.
No one should ever insult him by assuming that basketball is not his priority, meaning playing the actual game.
Great point.
But in the same breath, obviously, even though he's under contract for another year, if you're the Golden State Warriors, you got some decisions to make, and one of them could be about Draymond Green this upcoming summer.
Absolutely.
Is that on his mind at all in terms of proving himself and revalidating himself as one of the great cogs in the wheel that is the Golden State Warriors?
Quietly, perhaps. Quietly. You know what I mean? Like, he's too much of a force to be reckoned with and too focused as an athlete and as a competitor to be thinking about that. That's kind of like, what you've said it before, hey, that's background noise for him.
Right.
You know, it's not the forefront of what his thoughts are, but for sure, he's a competitor, which I love. I love it most about him. You know, it's kind of like the contracts may be coming to an end with Power, but if they revved us back up and said, I need you for 4 more, come on, bro, I'm back.
With that being said, the Toronto Raptors are the opposition. Obviously, they got to the finals for the first time in franchise history.
Yes, sir.
They've got a country backing them, not a city. It appears that it's going to be a tough matchup for the Golden State Warriors.
Yes.
What do you believe, knowing basketball the way that you do?
Yes, sir.
What do you believe the Toronto Raptors can do to win this series?
Got to be defense. You know, and I think you and I spoke about it earlier on First Take this morning, but I think that defensively they might edge out Golden State. And Golden State is, I mean, obviously we talked about Clay being a great defender, Draymond being a superb defender, KD, they're missing that defense, but they can get defense. But really, to me, where Toronto can really shine is that defensive force and the bench. and the scrapping play to me of Lowry. Lowry will be definitely an X factor, if not more than an X factor. If he can actually contain Curry in some capacity, and the bench can do what they can do, and Siakam can do more than what we've seen him do in prior games, then they got a shot. But obviously, your boy's going to get what he's going to get, and that being the beast, the man, the myth, the legend, the claw himself,
Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard.
I was getting ready to ask you about him. What do you expect from him in this series? What do you see? What do you see when you're watching him play this postseason?
A hellified level of focus, man. I understand why there's been comparisons to MJ on both sides of the ball. I understand it, you know.
All right.
He might not be the magic that MJ brought, might not be the same level of charisma or what have you, but on the court, brother, his performances are right there. It's pretty special.
We got something called the drip clause. I just learned today that the drip clause,
what is
the
that?
word drip, you got the younger generation that's using that. That's supposed to be swag or whatever the case is.
Our
so you got the drip scale right here. And I think we got Andre Iguodala. Now right there, he looked like somebody that wants to play golf but hasn't quite pulled it off. That's what it looks like to me. That's just me.
Shout out
that's
to
just what it looks like to me. I got to talk to him about that wardrobe right there. That was like a wannabe pullover sweater. It's just me. I didn't see it right there.
It was a pullover. It was orange too.
All right. There we go. There we go. I don't know about that one.
But you dripped out though, bro.
Of course
you
I am.
look like Ghost tonight.
Of course I am. I'm trying to. Here's my question. I don't know. That's his game face, but I don't understand
the
sweater.
Game face.
I really don't. Let me ask you this question.
Yes, sir.
Your prediction for tonight's game. In this series.
I think Golden State edges tonight by 6.
Okay.
And I think that in staying with that number and piggybacking your prediction, because I want to be like my big brother when I grow up.
Oh, please.
I say Golden State in 6.
Golden State in 6.
I got a lot of text messages from friends that said in 7, but I'm going with you in 6.
Yeah, I don't see them winning in Canada in the Game 7. They could do it. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
All right.
My man.